Now, these days, a lot of young people are getting bad press, but it's these guys here that are trying to put it right. So, hello, guys. Thanks for coming. I'll just say who you are first. We've got Darren. You are the director of Startup Grind. Áine, you interned in a publishing company. Conor, you are a fashion photographer. That's really cool. And James, you are from betterexaminations.ie. So, Darren, can I come to you first? Tell us a bit about, Startup Grind.
Well, I suppose really, I came from National College of Ireland in Dublin, and I studied business. And I was lucky enough in final year to get an internship at a company called Lucy, where I worked for a company that essentially builds software and invests in new tech companies.
Yeah.
So, after a year of doing that, I was lucky to get a full-time position. And through a single tweet one day from a guy in the States, I happened to get the job of running an event in Dublin called Startup Grind that essentially brings people in the tech community together. What we essentially do is we bring in a founder of a company or an investor once a month, and we interview them in a public forum. We've had Sean O'Sullivan from Dragon's Den, we've had Paddy Cosgrave from Web Summit, and a few others as well.
James, you're from betterexaminations.ie. Now, if I can say this correctly, you are a category award for the BT Young Scientist and Technology Exhibition 2012. That's a tongue twister, and it's amazing. Like, what has been the response?
Well, winning the Young Scientist, I think my category was individual technology, and then I won the EMC award as well. And that was like, I think doing the Young Scientist was one of the best choices in my life. Because just there's so many opportunities I've been able to, that have followed on from it. Besides starting programming, which I did when I was about 12. So like my dad bought me this book. It was called Java for Dummies. Java is the language, and it probably wasn't the best choice because it was a terrible book. But so like it ensured a couple months of learning how to learn to program by making mortgage repayment programs. So that wasn't so fun, but the end results were cool.
And that led you to betterexaminations.ie.
Yeah. So the leaving cert requires that you look over the papers constantly, and that requires you use examinations.ie, which is a really really bad website, and it's kind of really frustrating because the whole page reloads sometimes just because. So I decided to make another one called betterexaminations.ie, and I told them about it, and they don't care about the naming, so they're okay with it. So so a lot of students, a couple hundred students around Ireland have used it, and the response has been pretty good. So.
And Conor, you used your photos to get out there. Like, how did you start up?
It was really just kind of the internet that kind of brought it about, really. I got a camera about 3 years ago, and I just started really taking kind of pictures in my spare time and stuff and uploading them online, and just kind of slowly got a response.
Yeah, and what's the been reaction been? Because I said, you're young and it's a great thing to have achieved. What's the reaction been?
Well, yeah, I got a lot of support off my friends and family and stuff, and I think people are kind of fascinated as well about what I do, which is great.
And how did your photos become so well known and famous?
Well, I think it was mainly just kind of the internet, just kind of getting a following online, and Facebook, Twitter, Flickr. So yeah.
Very good. And has it been a tough road, kind of competing with the older generation, or are you hanging in there?
Yeah, well, I've gotten a lot of support off people, especially for being 17. But yeah, I'm hanging in there and just keep shooting, really.
Yeah, and I believe it or not, he's been in London Fashion Week. Ooh, yeah. So very impressive, very impressive. And Áine, you did an internship in publishing. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I did my master's in literature and publishing down in NUIG. And then I suppose I didn't really go down the emigration route like a lot of my friends. So I decided to do an internship, which meant moving up to Dublin from Mayo. So I got an internship at a contract publisher there, actually in their events department. So it helped build up my writing portfolios, doing a lot of copy editing, working on the Digital Media Awards, things like that. And then from there, I moved into the job that I am at the minute, which is a market research and editorial executive for EDCO. So I was pretty lucky, really, to get the internship that I did.
Yeah, and as you know, internships aren't paid. Was that a struggle for you? They're non-paid work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, living in Dublin for 2 months unpaid, literally living off my parents, because I mean, the way Ireland is, you can't rely on the state while you're in an internship because you have to be eligible for work. So I was working 9 to 5. I mean, that makes it impossible to get a part-time job as well, especially when you're working events, because your hours are all over the place. So, I mean, there are pros and cons to it, definitely, but it is worth it in the end, because for me anyway, I made great contacts, and without that internship, I wouldn't have got the job I have now.
Yeah, it's a great experience, but there's barriers, not being paid. And, How did you all start up? Like, did you just come up with the idea, or did someone inspire you, James?
So for better examination study, I guess I just kind of just thought of it because, you know, examination study was so bad. I kind of always wanted to make it since like 3rd year. And then 5th year, I just kind of got around to it during the summer. And I built like this really like basic version, just my friends in my year used it. And I've just been kind of adding stuff on since then.
Yeah, and another question for you. What would you say to people who are thinking of emigrating? You know, would you encourage them to stay here in Ireland and take their own initiative, Conor?
Well, yeah, I think Ireland's a great place for starting out, but I think maybe moving away is probably a good idea if you want to kind of, you know, broaden yourself and get better opportunities and stuff.
Yeah, and for yourself, Darren, do you think there's a great young technology sector in Ireland?
I think the tech sector, especially in Dublin at the moment, is really fast moving, and like there are great events like Pitchify and Dubstarts, which is actually a job fair where students can go to try and find internships in tech startups. So I think that the opportunities are there. It's really just about, I know it's easier said than done, but about getting yourself out there and trying to act on what you want to do.
And what tips would you give to young people out there who are thinking but are a bit nervous? What tips would you give?
I suppose target your CV. I mean, even out of the CV, I created 4 different ones and target them for specific industries. Don't just blanket, sort of throw your CV anywhere. Actually think about the avenue that you want to go down and just keep knocking on doors, and eventually you will get an answer.
Yeah, great advice there. Well, thank you all for coming in. You're great inspirations to us all.